In the vast expanse of the cosmos, there's an unwritten rule that most species learn the hard way. Never underestimate humans. We might not be the strongest, fastest, or most technologically advanced species in the galaxy, but we've got something that makes even the mightiest alien civilizations think twice before crossing our path. I remember the day everything changed. It was just another Tuesday at the Intergalactic Council's headquarters when the Zeraxian fleet appeared in Earth's orbit. Their crystalline ships sparkled like diamonds against the backdrop of our blue planet, beautiful yet menacing. As Earth's representative, I sat there, watching the council members whisper among themselves, their multiple appendages twitching with barely concealed amusement. The Zeraxians, with their towering 12-foot frames and bioluminescent skin, had a reputation for collecting lesser species. They'd done it 16 times before, turning entire civilizations into what they called productive members of their empire. To them, we were just another primitive race to add to their collection. Their ambassador stepped forward, mandibles clicking in what I recognize as their version of a condescending smile. "Your species has potential," they announced, "but lacks proper guidance. Under our benevolent rule, humans will finally achieve their true purpose." The council chamber fell silent, waiting for Earth's response to this thinly veiled threat of colonization. I couldn't help but smile, thinking about how many times throughout history someone had underestimated us. From the first time we discovered fire to the moment we split the atom, humans had always pushed boundaries. We'd survived ice ages, plagues, and our own destructive nature. We turned our weaknesses into strengths and our limitations into opportunities. What the Zeraxians didn't understand was that humans aren't just individuals. We're a collective force of will and determination. When one of us falls, 10 more step up to continue the fight. We don't need to be the strongest because we've mastered the art of adapting, innovating, and overcoming. I stood up slowly, feeling the weight of 7 billion souls behind my words. With all due respect, I said, my voice echoing through the chamber, "I should warn you about something. Throughout our history, humans have had a peculiar response to threats. We don't cower, we don't submit, and we certainly don't become anyone's subjects." The Zeraxian ambassador's bioluminescence flickered with confusion. They weren't used to prey species showing defiance. "You misunderstand," they said, their translator struggling to convey their patronizing tone. "Resistance would be unfortunate." "No," I replied, pulling up a holoscreen that showcased Earth's history. "You're the ones misunderstanding. You see those ruins on our planet. Those aren't from external invasions. Those are from us fighting each other. If we're willing to go that far against our own kind, imagine what we'll do to protect ourselves from outside threats." The council chamber erupted in murmurs as images of human resilience flashed across the screen. Our cities rising from ashes, our people united in the face of disasters, our relentless march forward despite overwhelming odds. The Zeraxian ambassador's confident posture wavered slightly. "This is your only warning," I continued, my voice growing quieter but somehow filling the entire chamber. "Earth isn't your next conquest. Humans aren't your next subjects. We're not even your next worthy opponent. We're something else entirely." Just then, my communicator buzzed with an incoming message from Earth Command. As I read it, I couldn't help but let out a small chuckle. The Zeraxians were about to learn why every spacefaring race that had ever tried to mess with humans had either become our allies or disappeared from the galaxy entirely. Looking up at the now unsettled ambassador, I asked a simple question that would change the course of intergalactic history. "Would you like to know what we did to the last species that tried to conquer Earth?" The Zeraxian ambassador's bioluminescent patterns shifted to a deep purple, a clear sign of unease among their species. The council chamber, usually filled with diplomatic chatter, had fallen into a tense silence. Every alien representative, from the gaseous beings of the Nebula Collective to the silicon-based life forms of the Crystalline Alliance, leaned forward in anticipation. "Proceed," the council elder spoke, their multifaceted eyes reflecting the holographic displays still hovering in the chamber. They, unlike the Zeraxians, had been around long enough to sense when a crucial moment in galactic history was about to unfold. I pulled up another holoscreen, this one showing the events from 50 years ago. The Drachnids, I stated simply, watching as several council members visibly recoiled at the mention of that name. They were like you once, confident, technologically superior, and absolutely certain of their dominance over what they considered lesser species. The images showed massive ships, dark as the void itself, appearing over Earth's major cities. Much like the Zyraxians, they had arrived without warning, demanding our submission. The footage played on, showing the initial panic, the chaos in the streets, the fear in people's eyes. The Drachnids gave us 24 hours to surrender. I continued, my voice steady. They thought it was generous, more than enough time for a primitive species to accept their fate. What they didn't realize was that they weren't giving us time to submit. They were giving us time to prepare. The holoscreen shifted to show what happened next. Within those 24 hours, ancient enemies put aside their differences. Nations that had been at each other's throats for centuries suddenly found common ground. Humanity, in all its beautiful, chaotic diversity, united with a single purpose. You see, I explained, pacing slowly around the chamber, humans have this remarkable ability. When faced with an external threat, we forget our internal divisions. All our squabbles, our petty differences, our ongoing conflicts, they become meaningless. We call it the enemy of my enemy is my friend, but it's more than that. It's survival through unity. The footage showed what happened when the Drachnids' deadline expired. They expected to find cities full of cowering humans awaiting their fate. Instead, they found empty streets. When their ground forces landed, they were met not with submission, but with a carefully orchestrated global resistance. We didn't fight them the way they expected. I continued, noting how the Zyraxian ambassador's mandibles were now clicking rapidly in agitation. They looked for our military bases. We fought from our homes. They targeted our power grids. We'd already decentralized our operations. They tried to hack our systems. We'd gone analog where it mattered most. The holoscreen displayed scenes that had become legendary among humans. Ordinary people turning their everyday skills into weapons of resistance. Construction workers who knew every tunnel and building foundation in their cities. Chemistry teachers who could turn household items into explosives. Gamers whose drone piloting skills proved devastatingly effective against Drachnid ground forces. But here's the really interesting part, I said, pausing for effect. We didn't just fight to survive. We learned. We adapted. With every ship we brought down, with every piece of technology we captured, we evolved. The Drachnids made the mistake of thinking that technical superiority guarantees victory. They forgot that necessity is the mother of invention, and humans, when backed into a corner, become remarkably inventive. The next images showed how Earth's scientists and engineers had reverse-engineered Drachnid technology, improving upon it in ways its original creators never imagined. We'd taken their weapons and made them more efficient. We'd studied their shields and found their frequencies. We'd examined their AI systems and discovered their limitations. Within 6 months, I continued, the Drachnids realized they weren't fighting a primitive species. They were fighting an entire planet of quick learning, adaptable, and absolutely determined survivors. But by then, it was too late. The final footage showed the remnants of the Drachnid fleet retreating from Earth's orbit, their once mighty armada reduced to a handful of damaged ships. But it wasn't just a retreat. It was a rout, with human vessels, cobbled together from salvaged alien tech and our own innovations, in pursuit. The Drachnids didn't just lose a conquest that day, I said, turning to face the Zyraxian ambassador directly. They lost their status as a galactic power. Their empire, built on the subjugation of other species, crumbled when those species saw that resistance was possible. Last we heard, they'd retreated to their home system, where they remain to this day, a cautionary tale about the dangers of underestimating humanity. The council chamber remained silent as I closed the holoscreens. The Zyraxian ambassador's bioluminescence had shifted to a pale, sickly hue. But I wasn't finished. My communicator was still buzzing with updates from Earth Command, and what they were telling me would make the Drachnid incident look like a minor skirmish. But you know what's really interesting? I asked, a slight smile playing on my lips. The Drachnids actually did us a favor. They gave us a crash course in advanced technology, showed us what was possible. And in the 50 years since then, guess what we've been doing? The Zyraxian ambassador's translator crackled as they spoke, their voice notably less confident than before. What have you been doing? I looked down at my communicator one more time, confirming what Earth Command had sent. Would you like me to show you? I asked, knowing that what came next would reshape the galaxy's understanding of humanity forever. The atmosphere in the council chamber grew heavier with anticipation. Even the Nebula Collective representatives, usually floating serenely near the ceiling, had descended closer to hear what was coming. The story of humanity's resistance against the Drachnids was impressive enough, but something in my tone told them that was just the prelude. The next revelation would prove once and for all why the only thing more dangerous than attacking humans is giving them time to prepare for the next attack. With deliberate slowness, I activated my personal holographic projector. The image that appeared in the center of the council chamber caused several representatives to gasp. It showed Earth, but not as the Zyraxians currently saw it from orbit. This was Earth's true current state, with the planetary camouflage shields deactivated. You see, I began, unable to keep a hint of pride from my voice, while your ships are up there, thinking they're observing a relatively primitive planet with basic space capabilities, you're actually looking at what we wanted you to see. A carefully constructed illusion, drawing from the same technology you used to hide your own fleet movements. The hologram zoomed out, revealing layers of orbital defense platforms that had been completely invisible to the Zyraxian sensors. But these weren't crude copies of alien technology. They were distinctly human in design, elegant in their efficiency, and terrifying in their implications. After the Drachnids left, we asked ourselves a simple question. What if they come back? What if something worse comes? Humanity has always been good at preparing for the next war, even in the middle of peace. It's not something we're proud of, but it's kept us alive. The hologram shifted again, showing massive construction facilities hidden in the asteroid belt. We didn't just reverse engineer the Drachnid technology. I continued. We improved it, refined it, combined it with human ingenuity and creativity. Where they saw weapons, we saw possibilities. Where they saw tools of conquest, we saw the foundations for defense. A murmur ran through the council as the hologram displayed ships emerging from the construction facilities, ships that looked nothing like traditional alien designs. They were smaller, more maneuverable, and bristling with innovations that made several military attaches in the chamber shift uncomfortably in their seats. But here's the really interesting part, I said, noting how the Zyraxian ambassador's bioluminescent patterns had shifted to a color I'd never seen before. We didn't just focus on military technology. We looked at everything they left behind and asked ourselves, how can we make this better? How can we make this serve life rather than end it? The hologram showed vast fields of terraforming projects on Mars, atmospheric processors that made the Zyraxian models look primitive by comparison, underground cities that could shelter millions, medical facilities that could regrow limbs and cure diseases that had plagued humanity for millennia. You see, that's the thing about humans, I explained, pacing around the hologram. We don't just survive, we thrive. We take what tries to destroy us and turn it into something that makes us stronger. The Drachnids thought they were coming to conquer a primitive species. Instead, they gave us the keys to the stars. My communicator buzzed again, and I smiled as I read the latest update. Right now, your sensors are telling you that you have us surrounded, that your fleet of 300 ships has Earth completely at your mercy. Would you like to know what our sensors are showing us? The Zyraxian ambassador's translator crackled as they spoke, their voice carrying a tremor that their species' technology couldn't quite filter out. What are your sensors showing? With a gesture, I expanded the hologram to show the true tactical situation around Earth. Hidden behind quantum fields and dimensional shields were thousands of human vessels, each incorporating 50 years of innovation and determination. The Zyraxian fleet wasn't surrounding Earth. They were the ones surrounded, caught in a trap they hadn't even known existed. But here's what separates us from the Drachnids, from the Zyraxians, from every other species that thought military might was the answer. I said, my voice growing softer. We don't want to destroy you. We don't want to conquer you. We don't even want to humiliate you. What we want is something much simpler, yet apparently much harder for some species to grasp. The council chamber had grown so quiet you could hear the subtle humming of the environmental systems. Every eye, every sensory organ, every consciousness was fixed on the next words that would come out of my mouth. The fate of not just Earth, but potentially the entire galaxy, hung in the balance. Just then, my communicator buzzed one final time. The message I received made me smile broader than ever, because it confirmed what I had always known about humanity. We weren't just survivors, warriors, or innovators. We were something far more interesting, and the galaxy was about to learn exactly what that meant. Looking directly at the Zyraxian ambassador, I prepared to reveal humanity's true purpose in the galactic community, and with it, a choice that would echo through the cosmos for generations to come. What humanity wants, I declared, my voice carrying through the chamber, is for you to be our neighbors, not our subjects or our conquerors. I paused, letting that sink in, and we've prepared a demonstration of exactly what that means. The hologram shifted again, but this time it showed something that made even the council elders lean forward in disbelief. It wasn't a weapon or a defense system. It was a sequence of mathematical equations and biological formulas that made the Zyraxian ambassador's bioluminescence flare in recognition. 3 days ago, your scientist sent a distressed signal across all frequencies, I continued. A signal you tried to keep secret from this council. Your species is facing extinction because your own bioengineered superiority is backfiring. Your genetic modifications are becoming unstable, causing cascading failures in your population's DNA. The ambassador's mandibles clicked rapidly, their version of panic. How did you? No, I finished for them. Because while you were busy planning our conquest, we were studying you, not to destroy you, but to understand you. And what we found was fascinating. The same genetic engineering that made your species so formidable is now your biggest weakness. The hologram expanded, showing detailed analysis of the Zyraxian genome. Your scientists gave themselves 6 months before the genetic degradation becomes irreversible. But what they don't know, what we discovered 2 days ago, is that they were being optimistic. You actually have less than 2 weeks. A wave of murmurs swept through the council chamber. The Zyraxian ambassador's color had faded to an almost transparent state, a sign of extreme distress in their species. But here's where it gets interesting, I said, bringing up new data on the hologram. Humans have something unique in our genetic makeup, something that evolved naturally over millions of years. Our DNA has an extraordinary ability to repair itself, to adapt, to overcome. And we've learned how to harness this ability. The hologram now showed a complex medical procedure, combining human genetic resilience with advanced drachnid biotech. What you're looking at is a cure, one that we developed not because we had to, but because we could, because that's what neighbors do. They help each other. The ambassador's translators struggled to convey their mix of confusion and hope. Why would you help us, after we threatened your world? Because that's what makes us human, I replied simply. We can be your greatest nightmare or your strongest ally. The choice has always been yours. We've already sent the cure's formula to your medical ships. Your scientists can verify everything I'm saying. Just then, my communicator buzzed again. The message made me laugh out loud, which echoed strangely in the tense chamber. And speaking of choices, I continued, you might want to know what's happening right now in your own fleet. The hologram shifted to show the Zyraxian ships in orbit, but something was different. The crews were moving, not in the rigid military patterns they were known for, but in chaos. Messages were flying between ships. Commands were being questioned. You see, when we sent the cure to your medical ships, we also sent something else, the truth. Every member of your fleet now knows about the genetic deterioration. They know their leaders hid it from them, and they know that the species they were ordered to conquer is offering them salvation. The ambassador's color shifted rapidly between patterns I'd never seen before. You're inciting rebellion. No, I corrected them. We're offering information, freedom of choice, the very things you've denied your own people. Right now, your fleet commanders are receiving an ultimatum, not from us, but from their own crews. They can either stand down and accept our help, or they can face mutiny. The hologram updated in real time, showing Zyraxian ships breaking formation, turning away from their attack positions. The mighty invasion fleet was dissolving not through force, but through choice. But just as the tension seemed to be subsiding, my communicator buzzed one final time. The message I received made my blood run cold, because while we'd been focused on the Zyraxians, something else had been happening. Something that would make the current crisis look like a minor diplomatic disagreement. I looked up at the council, my expression grave. "I'm afraid we have a bigger problem," I announced. "Something is coming. Something that makes the Drachnids and Zyraxians look like children playing with toys. And if we don't all work together, humans, Zyraxians, and every other species in this chamber, none of us will survive what happens next." The hologram flickered and changed one last time, showing a massive disturbance at the edge of charted space. What it revealed made even the most composed council members show signs of terror, because sometimes the greatest threats don't come from our enemies, but from something far beyond our comprehension. And as I prepared to explain what we were all facing, I realized that everything up until now had been merely a prelude, the true test of humanity, and indeed, all sentient life was about to begin. The hologram expanded to fill the entire council chamber, showing what our deep space sensors had detected. A massive tear in the fabric of space-time itself, spreading like a cosmic wound. Through this breach poured something that defied description, entities that existed in dimensions beyond our comprehension, drawn to our reality by the combined energy signatures of all our civilizations. We call them the Void Harbingers. I explained, my voice steady despite the terror they inspired. They feed on technological civilizations, consuming entire galaxies before moving on to the next. They're not evil. They're simply beyond our understanding of morality. And they've noticed us. The council erupted in panic. The Zyraxian ambassador's color had shifted to pure white, a sign of absolute terror in their species. But I wasn't finished. "This is why we prepared the way we did," I continued, raising my voice above the chaos. "Not just for threats we could see, but for the ones we knew must exist. Humanity has always looked to the stars with equal parts hope and caution. We knew that if we weren't alone in the universe, neither were our potential enemies." The hologram shifted to show something new, massive structures hidden in dimensional pockets throughout the solar system. "Project Lighthouse," I explained. While we were reverse engineering Drachnid technology and curing Zyraxian genetic degradation, we were also preparing for something bigger. These structures aren't weapons. They're beacons. They don't destroy. They redirect. Understanding began to dawn on the council members' faces as the implications became clear. The Void Harbingers weren't just a threat. They were an opportunity. An opportunity to prove that the galaxy's species could work together, that we could be more than the sum of our fears and ambitions. Each beacon, I continued, is designed to resonate with the quantum frequency of our reality. Together, they can create a harmonic barrier that will make our entire galaxy appear as empty space to the Harbingers. But there's a catch. They require the combined energy output of every major civilization in the galaxy to function. The council chamber fell silent as the magnitude of what I was suggesting sank in. We weren't just asking for cooperation. We were asking for absolute trust. Every species would have to link their power grids, their technologies, their very futures together. "The Zyraxians have the most efficient energy distribution systems," I said, nodding to their ambassador. "The Nebula Collective understands dimensional harmonics better than anyone. The Crystalline Alliance has mastered quantum entanglement. And humans, we know how to bring people together, how to find common ground in the face of impossible odds." My communicator buzzed again, but this time I already knew what it would say. The Void Harbingers had reached the outer edges of our galaxy. We had hours, not days, to implement our plan. "So here's the choice," I declared, looking at each council member in turn. "We can stay divided, hold on to our fears and prejudices, and face extinction. Or we can do something unprecedented in the history of the galaxy. We can trust each other. Completely. Unconditionally. Because if even one civilization holds back, If even one species tries to save themselves at the expense of others, the beacons will fail. The Zaraxian ambassador stepped forward, their color now a deep blue of resolution. "We offer our full cooperation," they announced. "Our fleet captains await your coordinates." One by one, other species joined in: the Nebula Collective, the Crystalline Alliance, even the traditionally isolationist Quantum Hive Mind. In the face of extinction, ancient rivalries and suspicions melted away. But just as hope began to rise, my communicator displayed one final message, one that changed everything we thought we knew about the Void Harbingers. Because sometimes the greatest truth isn't about the nature of our enemies, but about the nature of ourselves. Looking at the message, I realized that humanity's greatest test wasn't just about survival or unity. It was about understanding something fundamental about existence itself. And as I prepared to share this final revelation with the Council, I knew that whatever happened next would reshape not just our galaxy, but our very understanding of what it means to be alive. Because the Void Harbingers weren't what we thought they were something far more familiar, and that truth would change everything. I took a deep breath, my eyes scanning the message one last time before addressing the Council. "The Void Harbingers," I began, my voice carrying a mix of awe and understanding, "are us. Not humans specifically, but life itself, evolved beyond our current understanding. They're not here to destroy us. They're here to test us." The hologram shifted to show new data, patterns we'd initially missed. The tear in space-time wasn't random. It was structured, deliberate. The entities weren't consuming civilizations. They were evaluating them. Every galaxy they'd visited had either evolved to a new state of existence or fallen back into primitive chaos. "Think about it," I continued, watching comprehension dawn across alien faces. "Why would beings of such power need to feed on technological civilizations? They don't. What they need is to know we're ready to take the next step in cosmic evolution." The Zaraxian ambassador's color shifted to a deep purple of revelation. "The beacons," they said, their translator barely keeping up with their excitement. "They're not meant to hide us. They're meant to show we can work together," I finished. "That we can trust each other completely, without reservation. The energy grid linking all our civilizations isn't just for power. It's proof that we can function as one unified entity while maintaining our individual identities." The council chamber erupted in a mixture of relief and anticipation. Species that had been enemies for millennia were now looking at each other with new understanding. The Void Harbingers hadn't chosen our galaxy by accident. They'd chosen us because we were ready. My communicator buzzed one final time. The message was simple: initiate. With a nod to the council, I gave the command. Across the galaxy, the beacons activated, but instead of creating a barrier, they created a bridge, a connection not just between our civilizations, but between our current state of existence and what we could become. The Void Harbingers approached, their presence now feeling less threatening and more familiar. They weren't here to end our story. They were here to help us write its next chapter. "We spent so much time preparing for war," I said, watching as the chamber filled with a soft, multidimensional light. "We never considered that the greatest test wouldn't be of our strength or technology, but of our ability to trust, to cooperate, to grow beyond our limitations." The light grew brighter, and with it came understanding. We weren't facing extinction. We were facing evolution. Every species in the galaxy had brought their own piece of the puzzle. Human adaptability, Ziraxian efficiency, Nebula collective wisdom, Crystalline Alliance precision, and countless others. As the light reached its peak, I shared one final thought with the Council. The greatest power in the universe isn't the ability to destroy or conquer. It's the ability to change, to grow, to become more than we are while remaining true to who we've always been. The chamber filled with a brilliance that transcended normal space-time. In that moment, we all understood, humans, Ziraxians, and every other species, that this wasn't an ending. It was a beginning. We were about to embark on an adventure beyond anything we'd imagined, not as separate species, but as a unified cosmic community. And as our reality began to shift, evolve, and transform, I couldn't help but smile at that irony. All those years preparing for war had actually prepared us for peace. All our defenses against destruction had become tools for creation. We had proved, finally and irrevocably, why you don't mess with humans, not because we're dangerous, but because we never stop hoping, never stop dreaming, and never stop reaching for the stars. The light enveloped us completely, and our journey to the next stage of existence began. Whatever lay ahead, we would face it together as one galaxy, one people, one future. Because in the end, that's what humans do best. We don't just survive, we help others thrive. And that, more than any weapon or technology, is our true legacy to the cosmos.